Guys, did you hear? Ghost of Yōtei is actually selling like gangbusters and it's breaking records left and right. And all the chuds were so wrong and whatever miscellaneous words you want to throw in here because they're believing Piscatella Circana Research Center that is a massive, trust me, bro, with the numbers because they don't actually provide any actual sales details. They just provide places for where the game is on what you could argue is a very light release area. And Ghost of Yōtei was doing well in competition if you avoid all the asterisks and don't take into account that there are people that are definitely biased with their angles on things. Sure. This is King J who says, it's official. Ghost of Yōtei sold great across the board, and all the detractors failed miserably. Well, first off, this is what happens, by the way. It's not cope, it's not moving goalposts. It's exactly what Grums, Hypnotic, Atreus, Vardark, I mean, go through the list. All of us are saying this the whole time. None of us thought this game was not going to sell at all. Like we knew it was going to sell. Hell, I don't know anyone that didn't say it wasn't going to make its money back. The problem with this game is it's a sequel and they doomed it. The sequel is supposed to outsell the predecessor, which is not happening here. And I was saying it's not going to sell half as much long-term lifetime as Ghost of Tsushima. And I still stand by that statement. So I wouldn't say detractors failed miserably. We're still, as far as I can see, on point and accurate with our estimations. Matt Piscatella, which I'm going to say real quick here, completely lost any trust in what he says about stuff. As soon as he said Assassin's Creed Shadow was the best-selling game when it came out and how it was doing gangbusters and all these great things. And I'm like, weird, because Ubisoft just talked about players engaged and would never give actual sales numbers on that game. And we've seen the fallout of that ever since then. And now this guy's like, I got one more in me. Let's get to Yōtei and do that again. With 1 week in market, the US sales performance of Ghost of Yōtei was basically flat to that of Ghost of Tsushima. It did great. So on the surface, if you just read this without diving any deeper, you would be fooled most likely if you were just a normie reading this, being like, oh, cool, it's selling well. Don't know why anyone's saying anything bad about it. Very, very curious things that he takes out of this. Ready? With 1 week on the market, US sales performance of Ghost of Yōtei, basically flat, Ghost of Tsushima. Okay, what are the numbers? How many did it sell? Why are you specifying just the US? What is great to you? What were the expectations that Sony and Sucker Punch had for this game? What do you mean it did great? You saying it did great shows your bias. It shows that you're trying to push an agenda out there. If you left off the it did great part, then I would be more inclined to think, oh, okay, this guy's just providing information. Saying the it did great thing at the end makes me say, that's pretty curious that he would say such a thing. And of course, Wokies, whatever they call themselves, ate the slop up and ran with it as soon as possible. Rhino, Ghost of Yōtei was number 4 best-selling game in US in September. Rocket Ship, they were on par with Tsushima at the time of release with a smaller install base. Ghost of Tsushima was a new IP. That's really hard to sell a new IP and the numbers that it sold. This is embarrassing for Ghost of Yōtei. They're saying basically flat, which again, I don't even believe that. But even if I do believe that, that's still not good. There's so much cope going on here. There's so much cope. There's no numbers. They don't provide any information or details. It's just it's doing great. Trust me, bro. I work at a research center. Great. You know how many other research centers have said shit about it? Doesn't mean anything. Where's Sony? Where's Sucker Punch? Why aren't they announcing 1 million sold, 2 million sold, 5 million sold, 10 million sold. Where is that? If it's doing so great, wouldn't they be talking about that? I mean, they did it with Tsushima. Why aren't they doing it now? Sounds like the boycott really worked, and YouTubers have lots of credibility in their headcanon. There's a lot of cope going on right now. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Grum says, folks, I call it like it is. The numbers for Yōtei are looking fine. When numbers are good, I post them. When numbers are bad, I post them. Qualified. For a sequel to a surprise hit first game, they are less than what you would expect. That's not cope. That's not moving goalposts. That's literally what we said from day one with this game. That it's not selling better than the predecessor. That should tell you all you need to know. So from that perspective, to me, it is a massive flop. Sucker Punch should be embarrassed by doing this, going this direction with the game. Did it make its money back? I'm sure if it didn't, it will. But did it make infinite money like it could have? Absolutely not. That is the biggest problem. That's the thing that all the haters want to detract from. They want to ignore that part of it. They just want to say, see, it sold, it made its money back. You think game companies are sustained from making their money back? That's not why they make a game, bro. Is this your first day here? People claiming I said Yōtei would bomb can't point to a post where I said that, because I never did. I also never said the game was bad and said it was decent to good in many posts with gorgeous graphics. That's not my problem with the game. They're making up things to be mad about because they just want to be mad and are crazy with ideology. They have to weave a false narrative because they have no problem lying to try to score a gotcha for points for politics. 100%. 100%. They're even claiming my numbers are made up when they are numbers that are even better than what their sources are reporting. That's how deranged they are. They have to take a contrary position, even if I post data that agrees with them. I'm going to get into a post from Colin Moriarty in a second here that explains exactly what my frustrations are with this entire situation. But there's a lot of people that when they saw Matt Piscatella put this post out there on Blue Sky, they completely ran with it. This is the post. With 1 week on the market, the U.S. sales performance Ghost of Yōtei is basically flat. Tsushima, it did great. And he followed up. Ghost of Tsushima launched in July 2020. If you'll recall, stuff was happening at that time that significantly boosted gaming. Bro, the cope. He's trying so hard to be like, oh, this is why Tsushima was selling a lot back then, which it shouldn't have. And this is why Yōtei is selling a lot now, which would have been more, but because Tsushima sold so well during the pandemic that it's the same. Like, there's so much fucking cope in this one sentence. And the PS4 install base at the time was significantly higher than the PS5 is today. Like, anyone with a concern about this title should be looked at with a side eye. My God, this guy's nuts. And then we have go broke, go top of the charts, Jason Schreier diving in like people forgot about that one. 60, like you didn't learn your lesson the first time, old man. We got to teach you again. $60 versus 72. We got OJ quote tweeting Endymion saying, I have Ghost of Yōtei's sales numbers. Video in the making now. They're lying to you guys, and it's bleak. See you then. And if I recall correctly, it was basically, Endymion was saying it was somewhere between 1.4 and 1.7 million, which is not great. It's not great. That's like on the top end too. For launch week of a massive title, 1.4, not great. 1.7, still not great, but liar. Endymion just makes stuff up for YouTube clicks. The sales of Ghost of Yōtei are not looking bleak. Here's what a real analyst with the actual numbers said. What numbers? What numbers, OJ? Where are the numbers? He didn't say any numbers. You just like read the post. There's numbers here. Trust me, bro. It's there. We got another one. Germans fans. It did great. There's no numbers. Just trust me, bro. It did great. Ghost of Yōtei sales are matching the famously efficient Ghost of Tsushima in the US, says analysts. And everyone's just running with this like it's fact without any knowledge of how many sales it has. They're just taking the word of a quote-unquote analyst that has been wrong in the past, I might add. It's not cope, it's reality. They just want so hard to get a win that they're going to end up embarrassing themselves again. This is what always happens. Fake Wizard, if Ghost of Yōtei was such a hit, why hasn't Sony and Sucker Punch put out a statement saying so? These companies report back to shareholders. Wouldn't they have wanted to celebrate such a success? What's the deal here? My question exactly with all of this, and it goes to this point here. I said, every Twitter clown out here parroting Ghost of Yōtei was the #4 best-selling game in the US for September needs to calm the fuck down. According to Matt's spreadsheet and Circana's estimates, sales were supposedly in line with Ghost of Tsushima. This is the same group that recently claimed Assassin's Creed Shadows was the best-selling game in the US. So take his numbers with a massive grain of salt. No hard data, no official statements from Sony or Sucker Punch, no confirmation anywhere, just PR-fed talking points being passed off as fact. There is no way this game is actually keeping pace with Tsushima. If you genuinely believe that, you're being misled. And for context, Circana's lead analyst, Matt Piscatella, has a long record of being very friendly towards major publishers and echoing their narratives. It doesn't mean he's lying, but it definitely means his analysis deserves extra scrutiny. I do believe the game has made its budget back, of course, but runaway success? You've got a better chance at winning a TwitchCon foam pit competition without breaking your back. Colin Moriarty said, I'm happy for Sucker Punch that Ghost of Yōtei is a certified commercial hit. Certified by who? A dude that's known with echoing corporate narratives and pushing agendas? That's certified without any actual numbers. You're just going to run with that as your headline? Okay, bro. It's already the 18th best-selling game in the US for the entire year after only 3 days of sales were counted. Great sign. It's a huge step up from Tsushima, a classic sequel. Really recommended. My goodness, there's a lot of, please support this game, guys. Please buy it. Please. Trust me, bro. What are we doing? So I quote tweeted, I said, oh, wow. I was unaware this was officially a certified hit. You forgot to point people to the official statement by Sucker Punch or Sony. That's because it doesn't actually exist. Pretty fair quote tweet response, right? Like, right? No issues there. Got Colin Moriarty replying, perhaps you didn't learn this yet, covering the Alyssa Mercante beat, which, what? For those of you who don't know, by the way, Colin Moriarty, this is the guy that's in the Sacred Stones podcast, writer of 5 indie games, and he owns Last Stand Media. And he's a very large voice in the PlayStation community. He's a very pro PlayStation dude. Understand all that going into it, but I still looked at him with some respect because the Concord situation, he was the one that talked about how he heard that it was over $400 million that went into making Concord. That was where he first came to prominence to me. I was like, oh, okay, this guy's an industry insider, not a shill. He's going to tell you like it is. Okay. And then this situation happened. I was like, oh, okay. This is who he really is. A guy that dives right into Alyssa Mercante jab as a response to me giving a fair criticism. Like, what the fuck does Alyssa Mercante have to do with what we're talking about here? That's very strange. Very strange. Perhaps you didn't learn this yet, covering the Alyssa Mercante beat. What's he mean by beat? But Circana relays U.S. sales data directly from publishers to the exact dollar. How games are doing in relation to one another is therefore only a mystery to the illiterate. Congratulations on a job well done. And I'm like, bro, talk about sucking the corporate dick without actually asking for information. It's like, bro, this is what they told me. Why are you asking questions? Stop asking questions. Just consume product. and ask for next product. You idiot. I said, I was genuinely confused when I was responding. I'm like, I'm not sure what the Alyssa Mercante beat has anything to do with anything here, Colin, unless you're just padding your tweet with condescension. There we go. For flavor. Circana's exact to the dollar data never seems to come with, actual numbers. Ask him about when he said Shadows was the best-selling game. Funny how it always turns into trust the process, but only when it fits a preferred narrative. Sad response, bro, to think. I respected you. And to be honest, I wouldn't have thrown this last part in if he didn't come at me with the Alyssa Mercante thing. That was like low blow. What are you doing here? We're talking about the sales of a game and you're like, oh, the Alyssa Mercante beat you. What? Last time I checked, she's the one out of a job, bro. That's not a beat here. But anyways, Colin replied, they don't share numbers because entities pay enormous sums of, this is a lot of cope here. This is a lot of cope. Enormous sums of cash for access to the data. And none of it can be sourced publicly. I know because we had at the time, NPD subscription at IGN, which I read monthly. I don't care if you respect me, but learn how things work. The audacity of how this guy just tries to talk down to me and try to act like he's in a superior position because he's been in the industry and he understands it. And I'm like, bro, you're still not answering the question. They're not talking about the amount of sales. That's the problem. I said, right. And that's literally my point, Colin. When the data is locked behind paywalls and filtered through analysts with publisher ties, my skepticism here isn't ignorance, it's common sense. Access doesn't equal objectivity. You sound pretty aggressive to take a stand defending Matt here, whereas I'm looking for factual information. This isn't the dunk you think it is. But there's obviously a lot of NPCs in his responses being like, oh, Smash, you lost this one. Oh, close your account. You're an idiot. Oh, all these guys that just suck on his knob all day. The reality is people want a narrative so bad that they will ignore facts. They will ignore truth. And they will just say, trust me, bro. This guy who has a research center, he's the one that says it's doing great. Stop asking questions. It's amazing. And here's a great counter to it. And shout out to a friend of the channel, Jay Viper, who came in with this banger. Matt Piscatella is here with quote unquote analytics, but no numbers. Fraud. They keep saying these things, but don't give a single number. Where are the numbers? The stats that they've gotten. We don't even need the data, but where are the sales? They don't have them. It's barking at the moon. What type of analytics doesn't present numbers? Lol, industry shills is the type. Was basically flat, means nothing. It was less. And I can also tell you that the numbers fell drastically after day 2. People keep posting Tsushima numbers as if they're Yōtei 2 because these idiots are purposefully confusing them. Yōtei did not hit those numbers. We already know this. I know this. Now people are trying to tote the $70 as a win too, which is hilarious. Less copies is good, actually, crowd. Get a grip. Like I've said, as I tracked the game, it is hitting a net positive, but it is falling short of what Sony desired ROI, return on investment, would be 50 to 100% and has no shot at hitting it without a port to PC. I would argue even with a port to PC, it has no shot of hitting a 100% return on investment at this point. Those are just the facts as we know them. Tell Sony to tell us the sales if you don't like it. Spoiler, they will look like mine. 1.6 million copies in 1 week. From Alinea, same numbers I had, by the way, and I had them first, is not a win. It's a slide backwards. Tsushima did 2.4 million in 3 days. That's over almost a million more in 3 days. Since the first week, Yōtei has moved about 300 to 500,000 copies. It released 20 days ago. Guess who can't tell you that because they may know, but it looks terrible and he's muzzled by his media access buddies. Yeah, it's Matt Piscatella, the fraud who is painting Yōtei in the best light possible and not just showing whatever numbers he has because he knows what happened after day 2. What a banger post by Jay Viper. And the cope is so real with these people. They're out there everywhere being like, oh, we finally got someone that confirms our bias. We are running with this one source and saying it's a success. Why? Not because we got numbers, not because we got actual information, but because he said it's great. Whatever the fuck great is supposed to mean. You want great? Tell us the numbers. Show us how it sold double what Tsushima sold. Tell us that it's blowing doors. Tell us that this is the best thing since sliced bread and all the haters are wrong about it. You can't do that because that's not what's happening. This long-term end result grand scheme will sell half lifetime of Tsushima, which at the end of the day is what I called before it even launched. Because people don't want to support a studio that hires an activist, nay, a terrorist, as their lead protagonist. And ultimately, that's why this game is going to fail. And I'll leave that there. Because damn, I'm gonna die on one of these streams, guys. Like literally gonna burst and have a aneurysm. Real Talk says cope is strong with this one. The cope is so strong. It was crazy because like everyone was acting like Colin got like a huge own on me just because he talked down to me. And I'm like, but you didn't actually provide any information, bro. You just talked down to me. You talked to me like I'm a piece of shit. And all I'm just saying is we should probably ask for the numbers before we start claiming it's a success. That's all I'm asking. But apparently asking questions is frowned upon in pro games journalism these days.